Hello, this is Eurosport. I'm Mark Bysiegel, and this is our second ever look at the Crocodile Trophy. It's the second year it's been run. A race that this year is 2,140 kilometres long. Last year, in the inaugural version of the race, it was even longer, 2,500 kilometres. But they decided to shorten it this year, although they still have 17 stages. A trek through the Australian wilderness. Last year, the race started in Darwin and finished in Cairns, home of one of the rounds of the World Cup, the Grundig World Cup that is. This year, the race started in Gove and finishes again in Cairns. And of course, this year, the World Championships of mountain bike racing, both cross-country and downhill, are to be held in Cairns. But this is going to be a pretty relaxed view of what some would consider an extremely tough test of man and machine. 26 competitors, 2 women, 3 juniors, and the rest made up of a few veterans, some really serious ex-cyclists, and some hobby amateur cyclists who fancied a ride, a fairly long ride that is. Quite a few of the competitors taking part this year also took part last year. The rider on your left, Harold Mayer, won the inaugural event, number 1. He won last year's race in 81 hours, 47 minutes and 49 seconds. He had a massive battle last year with the De Bie brothers from Belgium, Rudy De Bie and Danny De Bie. He was helped in that battle by his fellow Austrian and teammate Jorge Krasser. But you're now looking at one of the lead women, one of the lead women from last year, Brigitte Kirker. She had a mega battle with the Australian Meg Carrigan, who isn't here this year. Carrigan won that battle, and Kirker is expected to do battle with this woman in your picture now, number 10, Sylvia Fergal. Both of the women come from Austria, both amateur road racers. But this is something else. A lot of aficionados wouldn't say that this is a proper mountain bike race. It's almost a combination between a road and a mountain bike race. On dirt tracks mainly, through rivers. We're now looking at one of the youngest competitors, Daniel Hufnagel from Austria. He's number 12, also a junior. On the right, Jody Mader of Belgium, both 15 years old. This is the finish of the first stage, and this is the winner from the youth group, Daniel Hufnagel, coming through to win that, with the women's winner, Brigitte Kirker. The women, the vets, and the juniors set off before the senior men, and the winner of this stage today was Mars van Beek, the Pulsar Hazel rider in your picture now. Daniel Galli, the Swiss rider, wasn't second. It was in fact last year's winner, Harold Meyer, who came in third, behind Van Meerbeck's teammate Hoop Vierhaver. As I was saying, the juniors, the women and the vets, they only do 75% of the total race distance of each stage. And unfortunately, for some of these riders, there's no cosy hotels to stay in or bed and breakfast. It was camping out. And you can just see the intense heat that they had to suffer throughout the race. Huffnagle in the middle of your picture, made it to his right. This is the lead junior women's field. Absolute concentration required to fight both the heat, the boredom, and the other riders. Lots of periods of inactivity on the race. And as you can see, the main men's field, 26 riders in total. This is the major group, the men's field, all together at the moment. This is the second stage. But on this stage, it was Harold Meyer, last year's winner, the Austrian, 35-year-old, who got away with the German rider, Richard Ullschmidt, and Dutchman, Hoop Vierhaver. They got away from the main field. I think you can catch sight of it just now. They managed to get away from the main field to finish 9 minutes ahead of the next Dutch rider, Mars van Beek, who had been leader on the road up until then. But we move on to the third stage, 140-kilometer stage, where the cameraman had a slight shock. Third stage went to a small village called Berlingi. But it was the Austrian Hermann Mandler, in your picture now, number 5. Several times the Austrian cyclocross champion. He got away from the field with 40 kilometers to the finish line. And he managed to hold that gap from himself to the main bunch. Who at this stage weren't too worried about Mandler. They knew there was a long, long way to go. They were intent on keeping themselves in one piece across most of the river crossings, or puddle crossings, as I think that could be called. Lots of riders riding tri-spoke wheels. For added stiffness. Number 4, Thomas Moderbacher, just went through your picture there, and the policeman from Vienna. He actually started the race last year as well. And in fact, he had a major problem on the 15th stage last year. He He had gastroenteritis and had a fever, but still managed to finish. Finished in 10th place. Over 1.5 hours down on the leader, on the winner, sorry, Harold Meyer, the Austrian. But on the stage today, on the third stage, Herman Mandler, the cyclocross rider, you can tell by his drop handlebars, he caught the young rider, Daniel Hufnagel, cross the line together. Mandler, in fact, also won a stage last year. He was followed in by Dieter Kuisner, the oldest rider in the race. That's Brigitte Kircher, getting as much refreshment as she can on the race. Kircher second last year, total time of 100 hours 35 minutes. She was 19 hours behind, 19 hours 48 minutes behind the winner Harold Meyer. Added relief after today's stage, a dip in this small river. Daniel Galli, the Swiss rider, very experienced man. Won a stage last year, and in fact he led the race as well. As Maas van Beek's teammate Jaap Veerhaver goes steaming through into the river. Galli in your picture. In fact, last year on the race he met an Australian girl, and the day before he was due to fly out to do this year's race, he married that same girl. How sweet. But Maas van Beek looks as though he's had a very tough stage today, doesn't he? I know what he's going to do now. Ah, lovely. Why take your clothes off when you have a bath? Just dive straight in there. Wash off the grime and the dirt of the road. They've got a lot more of that to do though. We're going to take a short break. Join me after that break for the continuation of the Crocodile Trophy.
You can protect your eyes and your skull and your ribs and your knees and your liver and your spleen. Or you can protect your lead.
As autumn approaches, the clay court specialists gather again in Bucharest. In Romania, the weather may be getting cooler, but the temperature on court will be as high as ever. The Romanian Open, Friday afternoon at 5, live on Eurosport.
Welcome back to Eurosport. Welcome back to the second Crocodile Trophy. As we look at Jody Mader, the 15-year-old Belgian rider, dicing with Daniel Hufnagel, the Austrian 15-year-old. the top junior position at the Crocodile Trophy. Some people would say this is more a war of attrition than a race, but I don't think Harold Meyer looked at it that way. Winner overall last year. Harold Meyer, one of those most experienced racers in the field today. 35-year-old Austrian. He in fact came 5th at the Professional World Road Race Championships back in 1985. The following year, he rode on the same team, the Super Mercato team. Same team as Francesco Moser, who I'm sure most of you have heard of, and Gerhard Zadrobilek, who only last year retired from mountain bike racing. He switched from road racing to mountain bike racing, rode for GT, and in fact now helps the organisers of the World Cup. But this is the first group on the road. The youngsters and the women. Hufnagel number 12, Jodie Mader number 21, the two women number 9 and number 10. Rita Kirker number 9, Sylvia Fergal number 10. Looks very much like a club run, doesn't it? Except on a club run you don't have feeding stations. On the Crocodile Trophy you not only get food and water, you have a shower as well. Feeding stations are every 50 kilometres. Harold Meyer, number 1 in your picture. Wearing the jersey of overall leader. The race sponsored by Mapai and the beer manufacturer, Wiesberger, I think they're called. But the riders have to contend with things like this, a so-called road train. In fact, Australia's Northern Territory is the only Australian province without an official speed limit. So all you speed freaks, pop over here. Do 210 miles an hour if you want. This is the place where speed freaks indulge in their favourite hobby, of a cannibal run. But this is Mars van Dijk. Shortly before he won the 4th stage of the Crocodile Trophy. He's crossing the Wilton River. The Pulsar Hazel rider, ably backed up by teammate Jaap Vierhaver. Much like last year, these two riders are doing battle with the overall winner from last year, Harold Meyer. Except last year, he did battle with the De Bie brothers. This year, it's the Pulsar Hazel riders, Mars van Dijk, Jaap Vierhaver. Coming through next on the road, it's number 8, Heimo Plosnik. Number 15, Willy Binnig. And number 17, Richard Hulschmidt. Hulschmidt coming over the line first, with Plosnik next. In fact, Mars van Dijk finished 6.5 minutes ahead of the field and reduced his gap to the leader, Harold Meyer, running through across the line now. Reduce the gap to 2.5 minutes. This is the start of the 5th stage. This is a village called Bullman, an Aboriginal village on the Wilton River. And all of the inhabitants, I think, are fascinated with these strange people and these strange contraptions. I think they like the sunglasses though, don't they? Harold Meyer, the 35-year-old Austrian, leader of the race at the moment. Come back to defend his title. Also won the Kenya Rally this year. That's Mars van Dijk. I think that little child has taken a fancy to his watch, hasn't he? Meyer, of course, the most successful Austrian road racer. Now at 35 years old, he concentrates on mountain biking and golf. suppose they go quite well together. One's extremely hard physically, the other is nice and relaxing. Still good for you. But Meyer's teammate on the KTM team, Jorge Crasser, he's twice competed in the Iditarod bike race in Alaska, one of the hardest races in the world, across the frozen landscape of Alaska. In fact, Crasser came second in 1995. He's actually a postman by profession that loves to mountain climb and mountain bike. In fact, he climbed Mount McKinley in Alaska just before the race in Australia this year. Took part in early August, the end of the Australian summer. Half-band beat going through your picture there. Still got the majority of the men's field with him. And in fact, on this stage, only four-wheel drive vehicles, could follow this this stage. So difficult it was. All the other cars had to take a detour of 500 kilometers via a town called Mataranka. Look at that landscape. I'm sure these cyclists are glad they're on their own. They're with a group rather than they're on their own. Fancy having that ahead of you. Wow, tough. One of the oldest competitor, in this race is a guy called Dieter Kuisner, otherwise known as Diddy, 54 years old. Celebrated his 54th birthday just before the starting go. He's a ski instructor, ski racer and a triathlete that fancied his hand at the Crocodile Trophy. Last year, in fact, the oldest rider was a 43-year-old Freddie Sitzwall. He was a very successful amateur Austrian road racer. In fact, his son made him promise to finish last year. Sitzwall, in fact, finished in 22nd spot, 8 hours 26 minutes behind Harold Meyer. But unfortunately for one of the competitors this year, Andrew Blackmore, the Australian window cleaner from the Gold Coast, his race was ended on this stage with a road rash that looks very painful. It goes on to the other side of his gluteus maximus, otherwise known as bottom, as well. Last year, if any of you watched Eurosports and caught the race, it was Phil Corley, the British rider who had the major accident last year, fractured his pelvis in stage 8, appropriately. That stage ending at Hell's Gate Roadhouse. It was hell for Phil Corley. Not back, unfortunately, this year with his teammate Mark Booth, who in fact finished 9th last year. But at the end of this stage, it was Oscar Frank who out-sprinted Harold Meyer to win the stage. But as Jaap Veerhaver goes across the line, just raises his arm, with time bonuses, he moved back into the lead, 11 seconds ahead of Meyer. That's Willy Binnig of Germany. Been racing mountain bikes for 3 years. Also competed in the Paris-Dakar cycle race, so he obviously loves the desert. But does he love it as much as the man in green there to the left of your picture, Harold Meyer? very friendly atmosphere. If we look at Daniel Galley, a steel worker from the Emmental region in Switzerland, 32 years old. That's Mas van Dijk. Restocking, resupplying his body with fuel. But the next day, in fact, was a rest day, so the riders went out just for a nice, gentle training ride. This is a town called Burketown, based on the Salt Lake, which has only 235 inhabitants. I bet when somebody has a party there, you can't keep it quiet, can you? Absolute stillness, apart from the cars and the bikes. Burketown, the capital of what I'm told is barramundi fishing. I don't know if any of the viewers know what a barramundi is, but if you'd like to tell me, I'd appreciate it. Fabulous pictures. We're taking a short break from the Crocodile Trophy. Join me afterwards for the continuation of the race.
For the Ball d'Or Race 96, Eurosport offers you the chance to win a superb Suzuki GSXR 750. Runners-up will each receive a Ball d'Or 96 t-shirt. To play and win, call the Eurosport hotline now. Eurosport wishes you good luck.
After Imola, the 96 World Championships are still alive. The 500 title may look likely to go to McDoohan, but Waldman is chasing the 250 crown and Tokudome the 125 championship. This weekend at the Catalunya circuit outside Barcelona, the slightest slip for Biaggi and Aoki could prove disastrous. Saturday afternoon at 5:30, the Sidecar Grand Prix, followed by qualifying for the 500cc race. The warm-up on the Grand Prix itself from 8:30 Sunday morning, live on Eurosport.
Welcome back to Eurosport and the Crocodile Trophy 1996. We now move on to the sixth stage, a 15-kilometre time trial across the Salt Lake near Burketown. Similar to stage to what happened last year. And the riders stopping to take a little bit of advice. First woman off, Brigitte Kirker, second place overall last year behind the Australian Meg Carrigan. He finished over 8 hours behind her. Next rider off was the oldest man in the race, 54-year-old Didi Quisner, the Austrian. He was followed by Sylvia Fergal, another Austrian. Not surprising really, the race is organised by Richard Schoenberger, the ex-pro road racer, used to ride for the Varta team. Took him 2 years to organise the first race. He's gone on to do the second one this year. 26 riders, 2 women, 2 juniors. This is Sylvia Fergal, looking very composed. Not using her tri-bars at the moment. In fact, that isn't Sylvia, is it? Doesn't look like a woman. That, in fact, is Peter Raymond, triathlete. This is Daniel Galli, the Swiss steel worker. But the Pulsar Hazel rider, Mars van Beek, goes round the halfway point. He eventually finishes second on this stage to, you guessed it, KTM rider Harold Meyer. First across the line was number 21, Joey Maeder. He was followed very closely by number 15, Willy Binnig, German rider. And number 4, Thomas Moderbacher, policeman from Vienna. But that was the leader, Harold Meyer. Now he accepts his race leader's jersey, sponsored by, you guessed it, Mapai. Race sponsored by both Mapai and Wiesbayer, well, who I presume is an Austrian beer. I might be wrong, but that's Mas van Beek. And this is the rest of the riders. This is just a transfer stage. Sticking together like they try and do for the majority of the race. Top 3 riders, Van Beek, Vierhaver and Meyer, look at class apart, don't they? Just look so comfortable as we look at Meyer. That's the man there, 35-year-old. Used to ride with Francesco Moser, former World Hour record holder, winner of the Giro d'Italia on the road, pure class. Pulsar Hazel, in fact, had a team in the Tour of 888 this year. Didn't do too well in the overall, but they enjoyed themselves nonetheless. And this is the Karumba, the village on the Gulf of Carpentaria. The Gulf that you see on the map at the beginning of each stage. I'm sure the riders were very pleased to have this stretch of paved road to ride on. Takes out a lot of energy when you're riding off-road consistently. Just a few of the riders have got fully suspended bikes. Most of them have front suspension. In fact, in this year's race, this year's Crocodile Trophy, only 65 kilometers of paved road. And it's back to this stuff. The dust and the dirt and the grime. And the dead animals as well. In fact, on this stage, the 11th stage, Daniel Galli, the steel worker from Emmental, comes in second place, 9 minutes down on Boudwin Engels, the Belgian rider. but there was in fact no change in the overall, as the three top riders, Mas van Beek, Jaap Veerhaver and Harold Meyer, stuck together in a group and finished in a group. The start of the 12th stage, the Dunbar Sheep Station, or it's called the Dunbar Sheep Station. This proved to be one of the most difficult stages of the race, for the riders, with deep sand to ride through and a headwind to contend with as well. And at the end of this stage, it was in fact overall leader Harold Meyer, who sprints with Veerhaver, the Pulsar Hazel rider, to take the stage, just ahead of third place rider Frans Asbrook, fourth place man Veerhaver's teammate Mas van Beek. All of the riders chatting after the stage, talking about the day's event. Obviously keen to tell their own story. That's one of the competitors' wives, Rupert Meisel. That's Monica Meisel. She's helping with the organisation, as she did last year as well. But that, in fact, is Mount Mulgrave, and this is the part where the riders just relax, have a shave, have a wash, based on the Mitchell River. And unlike the rest of the previous race, everything on this, at the end of this stage, in fact, was prepared by the station itself. Previously, the riders have been preparing their own food. Can you imagine that as well? After riding 140 kilometres on a mountain bike, preparing your own food, but they were lucky tonight, or should I say on this day. Someone cooking it for you. Ah, heaven. This is the Roper Bar. From here on in, all of the food will be prepared by cattle stations for the riders. As we move on to stage 14, and Harold Meyer leading out ever-present Pulsar Hazel rider Mas van Beek. Daniel Galley on his tail as well. In fact, this Crocodile Trophy looks like a 2,140 kilometre time trial, doesn't it? So that's number 17, Richard Allschmidt on the front, with Meyer on his left and Van Beek on his right. One of the few hills encountered on this race so far, anyway. Back up in the Toyota van behind them. But on this 14th stage, the oldest competitor, Didi Kuisner, crashed very badly. He had to have some wounds stitched up in his back, but he continued thanks to the help of the doctor. none other than Michael J. Fox, who I'm sure you'll understand is not the Michael J. Fox. Gita Kirker, leader in the women's race, soloing out on her own, looking like she's using the same sort of tyres as some of the races in the World Cup use, particularly Jan-Erik Ostergaard. Virtually bald in the middle of the tyre, with knobblies on the outside. Perfect for this sort of racing. But these are the leaders. Mars van Beek, Richard Olschmidt, Jorge Krasser, Harold Meyer, Jaap Vierhaver, out on their own with a long, long way to go. In fact, it was number 24, the Pulsar Hazel rider, Jaap Vierhaver, who won this stage, the stage to Laura, the 14th stage. Harold Meyer just came in behind him. Vierhaver, obviously a happy man at this win. Doesn't look too tired, does he? Slightly wet. But this is race organiser Richard Schoenbacher, is telling the riders of the difficulties of the next stage. Oncoming vehicles. We're going for a break. See you after.
Tractor pulling. Yes, it's a sport. It's high power, high technology, and high level competition. And you wouldn't want to get in their way.
Tractor pulling from Denmark, Friday evening at 9 on Eurosport. Miss Fitness, Saturday evening at 8 on Eurosport.
Welcome back to Eurosport and the Crocodile Trophy 1996. We're getting towards the end of the race. We're on the 15th stage. And the riders starting out from a town called Laura. School kids coming out to give them a good sending off. Somebody wiped a child's nose. Nasty, yeah. Lead riders on the line. Obviously creating a bit of a stir. It's still Harold Meyer in the lead, followed by the two Pulsar Hazel riders, Jaap Vierhaver and Mars van Beek. The German Richard Olschmidt in fourth position at the moment, but leading out. It's of course those three riders that I mentioned first of all. Meyer on your right, with the two Pulsar Hazel riders, Van Beek and Vierhaver on the left, taking different routes to the same destination. This is Lakeville Park, and the riders have to contend not only with the road and the conditions, four-wheel drive traffic as well. I'm sure this driver doesn't know what the hell is going on. Right, he's not actually saying anything to them. He's reasonably composed, isn't he? I'm sure if he was driving in London or Paris or Rotterdam, he wouldn't be so composed as that, would he? But unfortunately for Brigitte Kircher, not having that much opposition and being a class apart, she has to enjoy Lakefield Park on her own. What a sight that is. Marvellous. But out on their own, the three leaders, with Maya, the overall leader at the moment, at the back. Van Beek, Vierhaver and Harold Meyer, the Austrian ex-pro road racer. That's Willy Binnig. He's accompanied on the race this year by his wife and son. And he's a trucking firm in southern Germany, so he knows all about long distance driving. Usually those got an engine underneath them. One of the food and refreshment stops on the way. Daniel Galley, number 22 on the left, with Harold Meyer's teammate on the KTM team, Jorge Crasser, who came 11th last year. Moving over to the left of the picture, trying not to get as west as possible. Crasser came 11th last year, 2 hours 18 minutes behind Harold Meyer. But he did support him when he needed it most, when he had the fight with the DeBee brothers, Rudy and Danny. They were nowhere near as organised as Meyer and Crasser. But the finish line on the 15th stage was in Cooktown, and the last kilometre and a half was a climb of almost 30%. Cookstown, famous for over 200 years. This is where James Cook stood, looking down. It was Cooktown. And this is Jaap Vierhaver, the winner of the stage today. Sorry, second place today. Behind stage winner Harold Meyer. This is the first woman, Brigitte Kircher, riding a fully suspended Trek Y-frame, tri-spoke wheels. Not a bad machine at all. Just behind Kircher, it's Lars Van Beek in your picture now. He came third today, sorry. In fact, Vierhaver came second. I was wrong before. It was Harold Meyer who won the stage. Well, I never. This is Gerhard Schoenbacher. He's explaining before the penultimate stage. He's saying that the finish line was originally supposed to be the other side of the river today, the Daintree River. But in fact, rangers have warned him to warn the riders that they're going to have to finish on the near side of the river because of the crocodiles. Let's not be eaten by crocodiles today. But this is the penultimate stage. And along with this sandy, windy stage that we had earlier in the race, this is one of the most difficult. 2 6-kilometre climbs. Very, very steep as well. The riders in not too much of a hurry to get there, are they? Sticking together think they want to try and face the pain as a group rather than on their own. I'm sure, though, that when it comes down to it, when it gets steeper, they're just going to break up. Harold Meyer on the front. Rode for the Supermercato team in 1986. Came third in the Tour of Luxembourg on the road that year. He won the GP Prato as well, first in that. That was when he was riding with Moser. Jaap Viergever decides to cycle across styly his way up the hill. Don't ride. Stick the bike on your shoulder and run. But Harold Meyer, ably supported by Jorge Crasser. They were in the lead on this stage. Meyer went on from the Supermercato team in 1986 to in 1988 he rode for Gis. Had a couple of minor successes that year, but since then retired. Came back to win the first ever Crocodile Trophy last year from Rudy Deby, who was only 7 minutes down on him over 2.5 kilometers. Not bad at all. But the two Pulsar Hazel riders chasing as usual. One man who isn't too fond of chasing or isn't too keen to chase, Willy Binnig, German rider. He looks absolutely cream cracked, doesn't he? No point riding, let's try walking. You can see how steep the climb is. This guy's in the smallest gear he's got. Granny Ring 28. Looks like hard work, doesn't it? He's not going very fast either, is he? I think he should try walking like Binnig just in front of him. But it was Meyer and Crasser who came over the line first and second. Krasner getting the win, I'm sure Meyer gave it back to him. Looks as though it's been quite hard work, doesn't it? That's Jorge Crasser. Taking in as much fluid as he can. On this stage, Matt van Beek was third place on the penultimate stage. This is the last one for the riders, the 17th stage. No doubt, I'm sure they were very happy at the very start of this stage to know that this was the last one. Overall positions not likely to be changed at this late stage in the race. In fact, Harold Meyer at the start of this stage was over 13 minutes ahead. Second place man, Jaap Viergever. So unless he had a puncture or a bad accident, he was unlikely to lose the overall classification. But it was Austrian Heimo Plosnik who came across the line first on the last stage of the race. Number 8. Didn't affect the overall though. Harold Meyer in your picture, wearing the Mapai white and blue jersey, being congratulated by second and third place riders. Coming across the line together, he better be careful. I think, look at the front end of his bike wobbling around. Too content to celebrate, I think, but the Pulsar Hazel riders know when they've been beaten by a classy rider.
the Crocodile Trophy 1996.
And there's Harold Meyer.
The second time is Harold Meyer.
Harold Meyer being congratulated for his second win in the second Crocodile Trophy, kissing the winner of the women's section, Brigitte Kirker. It was Meyer who won in a time of 73 hours, 11 minutes and 22 seconds. Jaap Veerhaver was second, 73 hours, 24 minutes and 49 seconds. He was 13 minutes, 27 seconds behind. In third spot, his teammate on the Pulsar Hazel team, Mas van Beek, 73 hours, 30 minutes and 17 seconds. He was 18:55 down. From the overall winner, Harold Meyer. Meyer's teammate, Jorge Krasser, he came home 1 hour, 13 minutes behind Meyer, 74:23. Fifth place rider from last year, Daniel Galley, he was in seventh spot, 2:25 down. Galley was only 40 minutes down last year, but he was a lot longer down this year. Well done to Harold Meyer in the 1996 Crocodile Trophy. Hope you've enjoyed it on Eurosport. I'm Mike Bicycle, signing off. Bye-bye.
The vast interior of Australia still presents some of the greatest challenges to man's courage, strength and ingenuity, which is why it is such an attractive destination for life's great adventurers. The Crocodile Trophy is the longest and toughest mountain bike stage race yet to be organized. Over 17 grueling stages, cyclists trek from Gove, a small town on the north coast, over red clay, tarmac and sand dune roads to Cairns, 2,210 kilometers away to the northeast. It's a race which has the locals shaking their heads in disbelief.
I reckon they're bloody mad going through that bloody country. It's too rough for this fellow. I like to sit in four wheels round them.
The real dangers to face the cyclists are bigger fish than a grouper. Man-eating crocodiles infest these waters. It was in this area that a huge 9-meter crocodile, thought to be the biggest ever caught in Australia, was captured. That's a good enough incentive for these guys to get through the numerous river crossings as quickly as possible. Starting off in Gove, the first 5 days take the competitors through Arnhem Land, Aborigine country. When they reach Borroloola, they transfer across country to Burketown, from where they complete the final 9 stages, taking them to Cairns. The 26 starters are divided into 2 groups, the second category being for women, juniors and seniors. Their daily stages are 25% shorter than for Group 1. The winner of last year's inaugural event is back. Austria's Harold Meyer, wearing number 1, is one of the leaders over the first stage, one of the few sections of paved road. It's not something they should get used to. There's only 65 kilometers of it over the entire race. Unfortunately, there will be plenty more river crossings. This helps keep times down. Nobody is likely to forget just why this is called the Crocodile Trophy. Back on dry land at the end of a hard day's cycling, the competitors pitch camp and prepare for the next day's trials. Already there have been some casualties. Austrian Fritz Breitfellner crashed on day 1 and broke his collarbone. With over 1,500 kilometers still in front of the riders, it's early to bed. In this land of the dream time, nighttime offers the riders a chance for glorious reveries. Sweating it out across the harsh bushland, the cyclists experience yet another hardship, the heat. The average daytime temperature is 30 degrees. It's just one more of the many and varied hazards of the race, some less expected than others. Crisis over, and it's back on the open road. This area of land is almost exclusively populated by Aboriginal peoples. No other group before now have been given permission to cross the territory. Mars van Beek of Holland arrives first in Berlanga to take stage 4. Behind him are Harold Meyer and fellow Dutchman Jaap Vierhever, who stand first and second overall. Beginning the 5th stage in the Aboriginal village of Bulman, the competitors get a hearty send-off. Bulman may be full of good cheer, but the dangers of the Crocodile Trophy can never be far away. After transferring to Burgtown, the cyclists prepare for their 9th stage.